Hi, in this video tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to install CyberPanel, a free hosting control panel that you can install on your server or VPS hosting and manage your websites, your WordPress websites, your Joomla websites, and do a lot more for free without spending any money. So one of the things I want to talk about before I get started is there are some free control panels you can install on your VPS hosting, but the best one is CyberPanel. There's ISP config, which is a good one. There's Webmin, which is a good one as well. CentOS, which I don't recommend because it's just it doesn't look nice, but I've heard really good things about it. Vesta, I don't recommend using this one since it is kind of hard to use. The control panel is not very easy to use. I've never used this one, but might as well take a look at it. And I've heard good things about AA Panel. AA Panel is a open source hosting control panel, and it's to tackle cPanel. So this is one to look at it as well. A lot of millions of servers use this hosting control panel, and it's similar. People like it because it's similar to cPanel, but by far, I think the best free web hosting control panel that's being updated regularly is CyberPanel. And so we're going to go ahead and install CyberPanel on your server. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go back to our services, go to your Managed VPS Hosting tier service, and what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild the server. If you need to rebuild the server because CyberPanel only runs on specific operating systems. So if you didn't choose the right operating system on the checkout page when you were purchasing your VPS hosting plan through Rootpal, you need to rebuild it for the correct operating system, which CyberPanel runs on CentOS 7, CentOS 8, Ubuntu 18.04, and Ubuntu 20. So I'm going to install it on Ubuntu 20. CentOS is very stable, but it's at the end of life and it's no longer being updated. So if you do choose CentOS, I would recommend CentOS 8 because it probably has a couple years left on it before it hits that end of life. But I'm just going to go with Ubuntu 20. I'm fine with that, and I've used Ubuntu, so I'll just stick with that. So I'm going to rebuild the VPS, click confirm. It's going to pop my password right here, copy it, but you don't need to copy it because if we go back to the information page of the VPS, it will be there on the server information. So it'll be right here, and you just click this button and to uncheck it. And that should be the same password. Yep. So the VPS is starting. It's already started rebuilding. This takes about 2 minutes. It's super quick with Rootpal. Everything moves really fast. I refresh the page and it's already done. So the next thing we're going to do is install PuTTY. If you don't already have it, you can just go to Google, download PuTTY, install the MSI for PuTTY, the latest one, and then go to start, type in PuTTY, and this is how you're going to access the SSH console of your server. So we do need the password, which I'm going to grab right here. And what I like to do is just post it in text and then copy it again, just because you don't want any spaces, so it doesn't work. So I'm going to type in the IP address now, which is 5.161.53.157, which can be found right here. And we're just going to log into the server. You'll get this little error, not error, warning. We're just going to click yes. And we're going to type root, which is the username. And you'll get an email with this information after you set up your server the first time. But when you rebuild it, you'll need to know that the username is root every single time. Right click, since we copied the password, and click enter. It's going to ask you to change the password, so you need to enter the current password. And we're going to right click again, click, and then hit enter, which enters the current password, which is this one right here, down here. And we're going to enter a new password that we're going to set. Enter it again. And we're done. So now we're logged in. I'm going to type clear to clear the console, and we're going to install CyberPanel. So if you go to this link, which I'll link down below, this is how you're going to install CyberPanel, and you're going to run this installation script right here. So we're just going to copy it, go here into the SSH console, right click and hit enter. And what this is going to do is it's going to fetch everything needed to set up and install CyberPanel. Now the CyberPanel installer is going to pop up. We're going to click 1, and it's going to ask us if we want to install Open Lightspeed or Lightspeed Enterprise. We don't want to pay for a Lightspeed, so we're going to go with the Open Lightspeed. So I'm going to type 1 and hit enter. It's going to ask us if we'd like to install PowerDNS, Postfix, and Pure FTPD, which I do want it, so I'm going to leave it as the default and just click enter. You don't need to push Y or N. Then it's going to ask if you want remote MySQL. I don't recommend turning on remote MySQL unless you plan to access your database remotely from a different server or MySQL Workbench from your home computer. So if you want to manage the database remotely, you have to leave this on Y, right? Which the default is no, which is N. I might want to manage the database remotely, so I'm gonna put Y, and I'm gonna click enter. You can always change that later. But it's gonna ask for the remote MySQL host name. So you have to set this. So actually I don't want to set this. So I'm gonna run that installer one more time. And this is mostly because I don't have a host name already set up. So enter, I'm just gonna click enter for no, I don't want remote MySQL because I don't want to choose a host name at this time. So it's gonna ask us, press enter, the enter key to continue with the latest configuration. I'm gonna just continue with enter because I want the latest and greatest. It's going to ask us to choose a default password, which is 123456 or randomly generated one, or one we set. I want to set it, so I'm going to type S, hit enter, type in my password. And what this is asking is, it's asking which password do you want to log in with to CyberPanel. Okay, so there's going to be the VPS password, which the username's root, and the password is the one we set, logging into the VPS. And now there's the CyberPanel password and the CyberPanel username, which CyberPanel username is going to be by default admin. So now it's going to ask us, do you wish to install memcached process and its PHP extensions? I do want that installed, so I'm just going to go with the default and just click enter. Redis, and yep, I want Redis. Watchdog, the default is yes, so I want that installed. Watchdog is great because it is monitoring for your VPS hosting, so we do want that. We want the server to be monitored. We want to know how many resources it's using. We want to know the RAM utilization and all that stuff. So we do want Watchdog installed on the server. And now it's going to go ahead and set up everything and install the packages, install and configure CyberPanel on your cloud VPS. And this is going to take around 10 to 15 minutes to do. So I'm going to let that run, and I'll come back to it. So it just finished installing, and it's asking me if I'd like to restart the server now, which you will have to restart the server. So, and the installation only took around 10 minutes. So I'm going to click yes. I'm going to type Y, hit enter. And since it's a VPS, it's going to restart the server pretty quickly. It takes about 30 seconds to restart the cloud server. So let's give it 5 more seconds or so, and then I'm going to log in again with Putty. Oops. Grab that. Oops. I'm going to grab that IP address. And yeah, you can already log back into it. Root, my password I set when I first logged in, and it's going to give you a little information about what your current server load is, the CPU usage, RAM usage, disk usage, which is cool. But to access our cPanel or our CyberPanel, we're going to be opening a new tab, and you go to the IP and you go to /890, and there is no SSL. We need to set that up, and I'm going to show you how to set that up really quick. So click Advanced, Continue. We're going to log in. Sometimes you have to do it twice. And here is the login panel. I'm going to type in my password or the username admin, which it's going to be the same admin for all of them, and the password I set when setting up the server. Here you can see the resources of the server, the CPU usage, RAM usage, and disk usage. So now I'm going to set a host name for my server. This is very important. It's the first thing you should always do when setting up a server or a web hosting control panel, whether it's Plesk, cPanel, whatever. You need to set the host name and configure it correctly, especially if you're going to have, resellers or users using your hosting control panel to log into their accounts and their websites. They need something other than this IP address to access the hosting control panel. So what we need to do is we need to go to our domain name that we have that we want to use as our host name. You will need to buy a domain name for this. I use Cloudflare. I love Cloudflare. I recommend everyone uses Cloudflare to manage their DNS. So what you'll do if you don't use Cloudflare already, I suggest watching one of our tutorials on how to set this up, how to set your domain with Cloudflare. You can find it in the Rootpal videos. And then once that's done and configured, you go to DNS, and we're going to add a record, and you're going to choose a hostname name. So I'm going to choose webcyber.rootpal.com. It's going to be an A record, and you need to make sure this is unchecked right here. And we're going to put that IP address in and make sure that's unchecked. You have to make sure this is unchecked. And we're going to click save. So now that's done. We can access the console, the web console, using that host name, but we need to issue an SSL for it. So what I'm going to do is I have to create a website, and this is the way you do it for CyberPanel. Select a package. You can configure different packages here on the resources. This doesn't really matter for this website since it's going to be just we're only creating this website for the host name. We're not going to create a website on it. It's just for the host name of the server. I'm going to click admin as the owner. We're going to type in web-cyber.rootpaldemo.com. We're going to choose this email. It's just a random email. It could be any email, but your email address must be real. It cannot be a fake email address, or it will not issue an SSL for this domain name. All right. Choose a random PHP. I'm going to go with PHP 7.4, and we're going to check SSL. I'm going to click create website, and you don't need these other things. DKIM supports for email. And you don't need that, and we don't need to create a mail domain because we're not going to be using this for mail. I'm going to create the website. So I'm thinking you didn't really need to enable SSL there, but who cares? Click go back. We'll be able to see the lists of our website right here. And there it is. And that's the little, a little preview of the website, which is cool. I like it because Plesk does that as well. But we're going to go to SSL and hostname SSL. We're going to set this as the hostname of the server. We're going to hit issue SSL. So what this is going to do is it's going to created hostname SSL for web-cyber.rootpaldemo.com. And there we go. So the SSL which is issued for the hostname. And what I want to do is I want to go to list websites. So it just logged me out because it just reset the SSLs. So if I go here now and I type in web-cyber.rootpaldemo.com and I do the 890 and I hit enter, it should show the SSL now. Perfect. So the SSL is now showing. And so that means we installed it. I'm going to click sign in, and there you go. We have SSL working on our control panel now. But I think if we just go to it directly, it's going to be not SSL because I don't think it's force SSLing, right? So if we do 8090, oh yeah, okay. So let's see if we do this. Open a new private window. And it does force SSL, which is good. So you saw how I went directly here. I clicked entered and it did the SSL. So that's cool. Now we have SSL working for our control panel. And now we can tell people use this link and it'll work. So we have to do one other thing. And that is we need to set the host name of this server. So I'm going to type in host name here, and you see the host name's not correct. So we need to change this, and I'm going to change it to the web cyber one. So the command I'm actually going to execute is hostname ctl space set dash hostname, and I'm going to type in web cyber.rootpal demo.com. Let me try that again. So it looks like I'm missing a package or something that was giving me an error. So I'm going to install that package. Run the apt update, apt upgrade. It says I have that. So let's see. So all I had to do was I had to reboot the server, and I was able to run the command right after that. So I rebooted the server when I got that error, and I set the host name, and now I can check it, and the host name is now web-cyber.rootpaldemo.com. So if you get that error, just reboot it. There's something wrong with the symbolic link, but just rebooting should fix it. Maybe it was something we did when we issued the SSL for the host name. So now that that's done, we have one last thing we need to do. And we need to go back to our server and go to reverse DNS. And we're going to edit it. And I'm going to grab that host name, right click, copies it. And I'm going to post it in my reverse DNS. The reason I'm doing this right now is this is what you need to do every time you install a control panel. It doesn't matter which control panel, you need to do these steps, changing the host names, because it will save you such a headache when you're sending emails or creating emails or whatever, because it'll go straight to the inbox, because now your server is verifying that this is the host name, and it's going to go to the inbox when you're emailing people way more when you create your email boxes on the hosting, the CyberPanel or Plesk or cPanel. You have to do this anyways for every single hosting control panel. So now that we're done, you're ready to go. You're ready to start, creating users. CyberPanel has a reseller center. It has API access. It has packages, databases, PHPMyAdmin. It's a very, very powerful, hosting control panel that's free. It has plugins you can install for later if there's plugins online, and you can change the design as well. You can add any CSS you'd like or whatever. It's very powerful and it's great for a free solution. I personally recommend Plesk. It's my favorite hosting control panel. If you can get licenses through us for cheaper. And I will have a tutorial on how to install Plesk and set up your Plesk server through our VPS hosting. But do know that this is Managed VPS Hosting with Rootpal. It is the cheapest Managed VPS hosting plans from any of our competitors. A lot of our competitors, like Vulture, we have the same pricing as them for VPSs, but ours are managed. And ours are faster because they do use NVMe drives. We're not using SSD. We're using the fastest drives and the fastest processors on our VPS servers. So we are using top-notch hardware. And you're getting managed support, meaning we'll do whatever we can to get your site and hosting control panel back and running, or try and figure out what's wrong with it, or diagnose it, or work with you on fixing it as your server admins. So that's all I have for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like me to do more CyberPanel tutorials, let me know. If you need CyberPanel support or you need help with anything, please create a ticket and our engineers will do our best to help you with our managed VPS hosting support. Thank you.